Well, it's a typically cold and damp Irish pike morning here in the Borders. There's a bit of rain in the air, there's a good breeze blowing down the lake, and I'm here at Castle Leslie, which you'll find quite near to Armagh actually, on the southern and northern Irish border. It's a wonderful place this. Behind me you can see the castle, which is also a hotel. Fabulous place. It's preserved in the Victorian era and it's got everything, including a load of ghosts, these wonderful lawns and this fantastic lake. Now, I fished here at Castle Leslie about 4 years ago for pike and the fishing was fantastic, and I've been really looking forward to coming back ever since, and this is my opportunity. Yesterday we came across from Holyhead on the fast ferry into Dublin, got completely lost in the traffic for about 2 hours, but eventually made our way through the other side and got on the road to Armagh and got here to Castle Leslie, which is located in a small village called Glasslough. Well, from what I can remember, most of the pike in Glasslough are concentrated around the edges of the lake, but it's a very deep lake in the middle. It's over 50 feet deep and up to 65 feet deep in places at the top end. I've got with me a small portable echo sounder, which is going to be very useful, not so much in trying to find the pike, but in trying to find the depths that might hold pike. And at this time of year, I'm really looking for water of intermediate depth, around about 12 to 20 feet deep, which I'll probably find along the slopes around the edges of the lake. So I'm just having a little row round at the moment to see if I can find any interesting pike holding features. The boats are provided here at Castle Leslie, so everything's laid on. Well, if you're going to go out pike fishing in a boat, you need to be geared up for it and organised. If your boat's really cluttered and untidy, then if you land a fish, you're going to get into all sorts of trouble. And of course, you need to make sure you've got the right kit with you. First thing to make sure is that you've got an anchor. There is a good anchor on this boat, although I did bring a spare one with me just in case. As far as the rest of the kit goes, well, it's all laid out in the boat around me, really. I've got the landing net made up behind me, ready for action. I've got my dead baits in a small cooler bag over there, just to keep them fresh. In this bucket here, I've got my lures, just hanging around the edges of the bucket so I can get to them fairly quickly. This is an important thing here. If I get a really big pike, you need something soft to protect it from damaging itself in the bottom of the boat. So the unhooking mat is very, very important. The rods are laid out around the side, and then as we go to the back of the boat, you'll notice that I've got an echo sounder, which is powered off a battery I've brought with me. And I also use that battery to run the electric motor. Now that's a real godsend, because it means that I can manoeuvre around the lake without making any noise whatsoever. And it's got enough power to make several journeys up and down the lake. Certainly if you're going to go anywhere that does boat fishing, just make a check about what sort of kit they've got, whether they've got anchors, whether they've got engines and all that sort of thing before you come out. And it's always wise to have this sort of kit with you if you do any amount of boat fishing, because sooner or later you're going to need it. I'm just looking at a fairly gentle slope out from the bank here now. Got a very heavy mud weight. Should hold the boat nice and steady. Job's a good one. Now I'm sitting at the moment in about 20 feet of water, so I'm going to fish one bait quite close to the boat, the other one a little bit further in up the slope, to try and find out what depth the pike are lying at. Well, I've got various dead baits with me. This is one of the best you can use. It's smelt. You can strike the hooks through these very well, and smelt is one of the universal pike baits, it really is. Little Joey mackerel, beautiful pike bait this, a whole bait, very oily. Just use a pair of scissors to puncture the bait in a few places, just to let some of those oils come out. It doesn't spook pike if you're fishing from a boat, as long as you're quiet and you don't make too much noise by banging your feet or banging the oars. Well, my right-hand float, the left-hand one as you're looking at it now, just plopped under quite violently and then bobbed straight back up. So I'm not sure whether it was the float just pulling under with the swing of the boat or whether a fish has picked up the bait. I think it's a take. It looks like it's sliding away now. Just give it a little bit of slack line. Let's have a look. Yes. Not a big fish, but it's a take. Blimey, that's a really small pike. But it's a good start. I would think a pike of this size would be very vulnerable in a lake like this one. Probably get eaten by a bigger fish. Look at that. A really small pike. Only just about hooked. Right in the front of the mouth. There he is. Oh well, it's a start. It's not one of the Castle Leslie monsters, but pike is pike. I wouldn't expect a really big pike to be in this area with a small one like that. What I think I'm going to do is just work my way down the edge of the lake and try 2 or 3 different spots along the way and see if we can find a group of bigger fish. That feels a bit better. Well, I've literally just dropped into this spot and I've got to take straight away. Come here. Gotcha. Well, that's a bit better. This is one probably about 7 or possibly 8 pounds. I've only been in this spot about 10 minutes and already this is the second fish. I can't get 2 baits in the water at once now. Another take. It's a really lively fish. There's a lot of pike in this area. Oh, that's a better fish. Talk about pike hotspots. This place is absolutely bandy with them. They're all so lively as well at this time of year, and they do a lot of jumping and tail walking and thrashing. Now let's see if this one, yeah, another really active fish. Not at all happy with me. Similar sized pike. Almost identical, it's amazing. Normally when you're pike fishing, you'll catch fish of all sorts of different sizes, but at the moment, every fish is around about 6 or 7 pounds. Well, this hook's in a very awkward place actually. I'm having to go in through the pike's gill rakers, but I've managed to free it. When you're unhooking pike, the most important thing is not to panic. Because if you panic, you'll make mistakes and you won't unhook the pike any quicker. Just take your time and work as quickly as you can and delicately to avoid damaging the pike. Very nice. Now imagine what a 20-pounder would be like after a fight like that. What a fight. Well, the fishing so far has been really, really good. I'm just keeping an eye on my other float now because sometimes they disappear simultaneously. That one's all right. The fishing's been really, really good so far. I've had quite a lot of fish. Nothing really big yet, but really, really good sport. And what I've found is the fish are hanging around just on this slope. And I've got a feeling they're moving in and out of this area, patrolling up and down, looking for food. And I literally haven't moved for about an hour. I've had about 7 takes off this spot. So I'm going to sit it out for a bit longer because you never know, a big old girl might come along. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try a different place. Now, I first fished here about 4 years ago for pike, and I've been dying to get back here ever since. This, of course, is my excuse, because to be able to fish on the lake here, you've got to be a resident of the hotel. But believe me, if you're into short breaks and you don't mind spending a few bob, then Castle Leslie and its pike fishing is one of the best attractions for fishermen in Europe. It's a wonderful place, Castle Leslie, actually. It's preserved as a hotel in its original state, very much in the Victorian era, and it's got everything, including wonderful furnishings, great food, and a few ghosts as well. It's also got these sweeping lawns which give way to this lake. It's the perfect place if you like your pike fishing. pretty sure this is a take on the near float. The float's just sat up and it's drifting out slightly. I'm going to wind down and have a look just in case. Yes, fish there. Oh, that was a very, very subtle take. It pays to investigate everything with pike, because if you leave a take too long, the fish can spit the bait out. I've lost that fish, which happens sometimes through striking fairly early, but it's not a problem I'm worried about. If it's a really big pike, 9 times out of 10 it'll be well hooked. If it's a smaller fish, you'll lose the odd one. But I like to strike pike fairly early, after between 3 and 5 seconds of noticing the take. I don't like to leave them too long. Could be a lot of prey fish in this area. There's certainly a lot of pike here, and this is not unusual, you know, to find that a lot of the pike in the lake are all in one place. I've found this on British waters and Irish waters. It's a seasonal thing, and this is clearly a real hot spot for pike. Maybe there's a shoal of bream or rudd or roach here, but it's the kind of place where you can sit all day and wait for the pike to come to you. They're certainly not far away. This is the time of the evening now when the bigger fish tend to feed. I've dropped back into the area where I was catching all the fish before. Nothing so far. If I don't get one tonight, I think tomorrow maybe I'll try some slightly different tactics, because I'm happy with the number of pike that I've caught. It's been superb, but the odd bigger fish would be really nice now. And I'm sure that the fish are in this lake. Well, that looks like the final action of the evening. The rain's starting to set in and it's going really nasty now. So I think what I'll do is put this fish back and enjoy a fabulous dinner in the castle, and see you again in the morning. Well, today I'm going to use the same tactics on one rod that I was using yesterday, with a dead bait on the bottom, and then I'm also going to try some slightly different tactics. Just to recap, the baits that I was using yesterday were mackerel and smelt, fished hard on the bottom. Now, these are 2 classic pike baits. You can buy them in most fishing tackle shops, but today I'm also going to use a couple of different baits. Over here, I've got roach, which I'm going to try suspending off the bottom, and I've also got pollen, which are a beautiful bait. They're actually naturally buoyant, so they'll pop up a couple of feet off the deck and they'll be more visible to pike, so I'm hoping that'll bring me some success. How are they fished? Well, this is the first rig that I used, and very, very simple rig really. You've got a wire trace at the bottom with 2 trebles spaced about 3.5 to 4 inches apart. We move up the trace, which is 30 pounds wire, and you'll see that I've got a 3 SSG shot pinched onto the top of the trace to provide the weight to take the bait down and hold it on the bottom. Then we've got a swivel, the line, which in this case is braid, and then I've got a bead, the float, then I've got another bead. On this part of the line, I've tied on a stop knot. You can slide that knot up and down the line to fix the depth that the float stops at. Now, in this particular case, I've got this set at about 10 or 12 feet at the moment. It's very important, actually, that you fish with a stop knot no more than about 2 feet deeper than the swim. If you don't, a pike can pick up the bait and you won't even know that you've got a take, because the float can drift around without registering a bite. You want it around about 18 inches to 2 feet deeper than the swim that you're fishing. So that's the first rig I'm going to use, but the other rig is a drifter float rig. Basically the same thing, same arrangement, but this time the float is a vane type float, and the idea is that this large vane acts like a sail, so you can cover a lot of water. It's a very, very good method. And the idea with this is to fish it probably between 2 and 4 feet off the bottom and cover the water. I'm pretty sure that the pike will come up for suspended dead baits. So how do you hook the dead baits on? Take your bait, just nick the barbed point into the tail root of the fish, and then take the barbed point on your lower hook and nick that underneath the skin as well. For the drifter float, I'm going to hook the rope slightly differently, and that involves putting one hook into the dorsal of the bait and then the other hook just into the pectoral fin, so the bait will sit horizontally in the water in a natural manner. And there's your rig. To work the drifter effectively, you must use a floating line. This is 30-pound fluorescent grunt braid. It's very good actually because of the bright colour of the braid. I can see where the line is and whether it's going to tangle around the float. Very, very good idea to use braid when you drifter float fishing. This is a great place to see the float at work. I've got a nice constant breeze coming from behind me. You can use drifter floats off the bank or from a boat, and the idea is that they enable you to cover a lot of water, way beyond casting range. Once you've got it set up properly and you've got it drifting, then you can stop the float occasionally, or if you want to, just pull a little bit of line off the reel, pay out maybe a metre, let it drift, stop, then pay out another metre, and you can meticulously work an area covering pike that may ordinarily be lethargic and not come within the range of your bait. But of course, with this technique, rather than waiting for the pike to come to you, you're taking your bait to the pike, and it often picks you up those bonus fish that you wouldn't have caught on a static bait. Well, I literally just picked up the rod to recast the bait, and I think a pike must have grabbed it as I was winding in. It's hooked right on the outside edge of his jaw. Oh well, first of the day. There's a fish there. A bit more weighty. Hey, I knew it was coming. That's quite a fat pike, I reckon. He's eaten a couple of roach recently. Well, the drifter float's gone. Yeah, there's a fish there. At least it shows that the method works. You'll notice with the drifter float I'm using a very long trace. Some people like to use what's called an up trace above the main trace, but I prefer just to use a longer main trace. And it's just to stop the line getting bitten through by the pike. Making a right pig's ear of this one. It's to stop the line getting bitten through by the pike as it attacks the bait, which occasionally happens, so use either an up trace or a long trace. There he goes. Another thing I've done since yesterday is shorten the distance between my trebles slightly, because I noticed that the fish were really swallowing the bait. And I don't want a deep hook pike, so I've dropped the gap down to about 3 inches, and it's definitely working. I'm hooking them all in the jaw now. It's a beautiful fish, isn't it? Fantastic fish the pike is. Beautiful colours. That water's got a real chill to it today. The weather's definitely turning. Winter's not far away. One of the things that really puzzles me about this place is the lack of action I've had on lures. Now, yesterday I tried lots of different types of lures, from basic spoons and spinners through to jigs, big rubber baits, jerk baits, the whole gambit, and I could not get a single bite on a lure. And that's very strange, because there's clearly a lot of pike in the water, and when I came here a few years ago I caught very well on lures. I'm trying them again today, and I don't expect to catch much, but here's one interesting thing. If you're static deadbaiting around a boat, sometimes if you fish with lures around the boat, even if you don't catch anything on the lures, quite often what happens is it wakes the fish up and you'll get takes on your dead baits. It's something I've noticed several times in the past, and it's a little tip that's well worth trying out. Really acrobatic fish, aren't they? Nice Irish pike. Well, would you believe it, I've actually hooked one on a lure. I really wanted that. Oh, look at that, brilliant. very, very subtle take. Well, the shallow water's over there. It's about 2 or 3 feet deep on that plateau. So this is the kind of gully or edge that big pike will run along, and really trying to get pike that might be patrolling along it. We're getting towards evening now. It's about 5 o'clock. Probably about an hour and a half of daylight left, which is a good time to catch a big pike. This pike is actually blind in one eye. Well, that was a bit better, around about 10 pounds. Nice fish. Oh, I've got to take on my other rod as well now. This is ridiculous. They all come at once, it's like buses. Right, that's that one dealt with. Oh, someone's trying to come into the boat. Well, there you go. Well, my 2 days have come to an end and I'm absolutely gutted. It's a beautiful evening. Time has just flown by here at Castle Leslie. And of course, I've caught so many pike. I've had over 30 fish in 2 days, and it's been action all the way. It's been fireworks. There's been fish tail walking, cavorting around the boat, charging the boat. It's been absolutely madness. Admittedly, I didn't catch a really, really big pike, not as big as the fish I've caught in the past, but you know, it's a big lake this, it's very deep. And although there's no question in my mind that maybe the average size of the pike here isn't as big as it was a few years ago, who knows, in water this deep and this big, there might still be 1 or 2 real monsters out here waiting to be caught. I took a fast ferry from Holyhead to Dublin and drove north towards Armagh. Make sure you take the right equipment with you. However, you can buy suitable fishing baits from most good tackle shops. Check before you travel which fishing permits you're going to need. If you really enjoy your pike fishing and you're looking for a top-class luxury place to stay and come and fish, then you can't beat Castle Leslie. It really is a wonderful place. And as for the lake, well, on a night like this, I really don't want to leave.